bro? What up, people? How's everyone doing? Momentum Productions live stream up in here. We'll wait for a few people to tune in, and then we can get started. All right, let's see who's tuning in. Let's see who's tuning in. New place, new home, new setup. Very excited to show you guys what's in store. This is going to be awesome. Got some gear back there. I set up a little studio here on the side. Recording. We're ready to rock and roll. So we're going to answer some questions here on this live stream. Anything gimbal related, drone related, anything you guys want to talk about, I'm all ears. I'll do my best to answer as many questions as I can for you. I do have an exciting video for you guys coming out tomorrow on the Ronin S, so stay tuned. It's going to be a great video. I did a collaboration with Armando from Mondo Bites over the weekend, and actually on Thursday, and we got some pretty cool footage for you guys to see. I also was able to demo the DJI Inspire 2 with the X7 Super 35 sensor camera, along with DJI's newest lens kit for that drone. Jeffrey Ryo says, "Hi Josh, hi all. What's up, Jeffrey? How you doing? Tune in, tune in." I also wanted to talk to you guys about good headphones today too, because that's been a question that I've been getting through email. What's a good pair of headphones? I actually have a few pairs, but there are two that are my favorite. So far, it's between the Sennheiser Momentum and the Master and Dynamic MH60s. They're both Bluetooth wireless headphones with an auxiliary jack, so you can wire them as well. Both are fantastic. One's made in Germany, the other one's made in New York. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. We can go ahead and talk about that as well. I have a new setup. I moved. I'm actually in the same city where I lived before, so that's why we have this new setup here. My bed is not ready yet. I need a frame that's coming in on Tuesday. So like we have a ton of cool things that are going to be happening. New furniture is going to be coming in. I'm doing a little setup here for YouTube videos. I have two LED panels pointing up at my white ceiling here as a bounce. I have an Aperture 120D as a key light with a softbox. Actually, they're Light Dome Mini. I'm using a Rode NTG2 to capture my audio. I'm using my Sony A9 with a 24-70 Zeiss f4 lens. I'm using an Aperture VS5X for my monitor, so I can see exactly what I'm doing and to check focus. I'm using a King TV Boltzmann 55 watt as a key light. It might be overkill for this room, but because my room doesn't get as much sunlight, and I wanted that specifically because it does get really hot here in LA during the summer. I didn't want too much sunlight, so I need to get these lights to bounce bounce off the ceiling to have like ambient light. So, and the cool thing about these new lights that I got, actually, I got 4 new LED lights panels. They all can be remotely controlled with this thing, and they're bicolored as well. So they go from 3200 Kelvin to 5600 degree Kelvin. So it's a standard tungsten to daylight color. Is it accurate at tungsten color? Not that much. It just warms up the light, makes it a little bit too orange, not too organic. But if you add a little bit of tungsten color, maybe if it's around 4500 degree Kelvin, it gets a nice balance between tungsten and daylight. I wouldn't go full tungsten with these lights, but I'll do a full review on those LED panels coming soon. 3 of the lights out of 4 are battery powered, just so I go a little bit more green. I don't have to suck up too much power. Even though these are LEDs, they barely use up any power, but it's good to, you know, use batteries when you can. Kevin, congrats on the move. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. I'm also using a standing desk now. I just got this desk maybe about a month ago. I need to review the desk. Standing desks are not only healthy for you, but they take up less space, because when you rise up the desk, you can tuck in your office chair and you have more space in your room. So I really do like that. I like that feature a lot. I also have a dedicated storage area for my equipment. Like, I have a full bathroom. Like, this is a pretty good upgrade from where I was living. I was living in a very, very, very small area, and it was so stressful to be shooting there constantly. So, yeah, I know it didn't look it, but it was very, very small. So it's good to have this nice open area. But yeah, guys, if you're ever in the Los Angeles area and you want to collaborate, hit me up on Instagram. I was going to say Twitter, but Twitter is dying, so I'm not going to be on Twitter. I'm going to be on Instagram at momentum_productions, so hit me up. And as I said before, I'm going to be releasing some Ronin S tutorials because a lot of you guys have been wondering whether or not the Ronin S is a good enough gimbal. And it's a good gimbal, and I'm going to be comparing it with the Crane 2 from Juentech, and that should be coming out in about, I would say, 10 days or less. So make sure you're subscribed with those notifications turned on. Of course, I had to plug the channel, so I want to make sure that you guys are subscribed. Let me know if you guys have any specific questions here today. You know, I talked about my basic YouTube setup. You know, I'm using, what's it, 4 lights. 1 key, 2 ambient lights, and then 1 hair light. As I said before, I don't get that much natural light in here, so it's good to have that artificial light coming in. Yeah. All right, guys. Any questions? I'm surprised there's no questions coming in. Let me double check to make sure that everything's being refreshed. I don't know what's going on. I would expect more questions coming in, but for some reason we don't have. And by the way, guys, my internet has been phenomenally upgraded. Like, I have probably the best internet coming in, like almost 20 megabyte per second upload speed. So I shouldn't have any problems with live streams anymore. There shouldn't be any lag. There shouldn't be any weird disconnects. So if you guys experience that, please let me know. The internet speed here is ridiculously fast, so I'm pretty happy about that. It's actually faster than my office at Hurlbut Visuals. Shh, don't tell them that. They're gonna get jealous. But yeah, it's fiber optics from AT&T. So I was never a big fan of AT&T until now. I had AT&T as a cell phone carrier. I had them for internet, hated it all. And then for some reason here, it works very, very well. So I'm pretty happy about that. You said you have a standing desk. Is it automatic in raising and lowering? Do you know the brand? Thanks. Yes, it's an electronic standing desk, so it's automatic. The brand is Seville Classics. I have the maple tabletop along with white electronic legs, so it's pretty awesome. Dan says, just found you yesterday from Steadicam vid. Great info, by the way. Thank you so much, Dan. I really appreciate that. I'm happy that people are still using Steadicams too. You know, that type of stuff hasn't died. I know there's been a lot of craze for gimbals lately, but it's good to know manual stabilizers because they do offer you a completely different look. It's not robotic. It's more fluid, and it can have a little bit more character for certain shots. But when you need accuracy, when you need the most stability, when you need heavy payloads, when you need, you know, strong wind resistance capabilities, you need to go to a gimbal. That's where a gimbal will win and a Steadicam will fail. So that's my take on that. Brother, hello from India. Recently, I bought this A7S from Sony, but I have an issue when I'm shooting in the manual mode. I am having the noise in the images. Please help me, brother. I need more info from you, Raju. Please send me more info. Are you shooting a S-Log? What are you shooting in? Dan says, I have a gimbal. I prefer the stabilizer. It looks smoother to me. Halvin Wolf, what up, my bro? How you doing, man? How you doing, my dog, my G? How you doing? What's up? Doesn't matter. 851. How you guys doing? Oh man, it's hot outside. It's like 90 something, and it's only 12:52 p.m. How's everyone else doing? Pretty good. Shot my first documercial. Oh damn, dude! Look at you rising up. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. Congratulations. Oh, by the way, guys, I am using as a key light for this little live stream the Sakani X21. I did a review on this light. Check it out. But it's a cool little light. I also have the Aperture N9 somewhere back there. I have some lenses set up on the shelves back there. You can see the light, the LED panel that I'm using is a bounce off of the ceiling. The dual handle systems are back there. I have another Comico microphone, actually a really good microphone, almost comparable, very close to the NTG2 from Rode. I did a comparison on this. I have the servo follow focuses. I have the old and the new version. Gimbal notified me that they're discontinuing the new version, so the old version is going to be going on for production. The reason behind that is because the older version is compatible with more lenses. The new version, and honestly, I haven't tested the series, but it looks like their R&D department tested out way more lenses than I own, so they know better than me what it's compatible with. So the older version with the rail, they're continuing that and discontinuing the other one. I also have a monitor from Gimbal. I have 70 to 200, 85 mil, 60 to 35, 14 mil from Rokinon. So I got some stuff back there, and then I have a lot more gear packed away in my storage area. Halvin Wolf, thank you so much for the super chat, bro. Josh, are there any follow focus solutions for the GlideCam style stabilizers? Any follow focus solutions? Yes, but you're not going to like it. It's going to make it very, very heavy. What you are probably going to end up doing is getting a cage and a rail system, or maybe just a rail system, mounting it onto your camera. But if you do that, I do recommend getting a cage. It's just more stable that way. Once you get those rails, then you can mount on maybe a DJI Focus or something like that. It's very expensive, and it's going to be very heavy, and you're not going to enjoy it. So what I do whenever I want to take out my GlideCam or any other sort of manual stabilizer, I set my aperture to a high number, let's say like f11, f12, something like that. I put my focus to infinity, and I shoot with a wide-angle lens. And for about 80 to 85% of the time, my shots are in focus. I recommend strongly that you turn on focus peaking, because you're never going to know when you're really in focus using a little tiny viewfinder. Focus peaking will give you more assurance of that. So yeah, those are some tricks. The focus rings on lenses, most of them are very tight, and even if they're pretty loose, if you try to focus while you're shooting, you're gonna bump your camera, and it's gonna be seen in the footage. If you want to keep constant focus during, like, let's say a tracking shot, make sure that your client or your model or whoever you're shooting, your subject, continues walking at the same distance away from the camera. Make sure they don't speed up, make sure they don't slow down, and that way you'll keep focus. Measure focus. Use a measuring tape if you're not sure what the focus depth is. That's a good way. That's how the pros do it. They use measuring tape to check focus. But yeah, everybody in the industry never uses autofocus. They use manual lenses at all times. But if you're a run and gun shooter like me, I heavily depend on autofocus, simply because I can't waste time setting focus, measuring focus. I need to make sure that the camera does the job well. And the top two cameras that do that job well, the Sony A9 and the Sony A7 III. They have the same amount of autofocus points. The A9 is quicker with its focus change. But besides that, accuracy, I would say, is about the same since they have the same amount of focus points. Roger says he's shooting with S-Log and getting noisy footage. When it comes to manual, I'm having issues. So what I recommend, I had these issues with my Sony A7S, which is back there. Whenever I shot an S-Log, I would see grain in the shadows and a little bit even in the highlights. Stay away right now from picture profile 7. If you don't like that grain, sometimes I love grain because it replicates film. There's a lot of film, a lot of grain in film. So if you don't like that grain, stay away from S-Log because it's going to bump up your ISO to 3200, which Sony claims is the native ISO for the A7S. I don't believe it because if it was the native ISO, there wouldn't be so much noise. But yeah, Sony claims that the A7S series cameras are native at 3200. And that's probably why we see so much noise, is because it starts off at 3200. And that's where the noise comes from, guys. So I would say stay away from S-Log. You might want to tweak your own colors. My A9 doesn't have picture profile, so I had to tweak the colors with the RGB scale. I think that's what it, no, not RGB. Sorry, I messed up there. It's the sharpness, shadows, and highlights. I had to tweak those manually, and the contrast as well within the menu to get it somewhat color gradable. So I hope that answered your question. If you don't like the noise, don't shoot an S-Log. How often do you use the monitor on your gimbal? Honestly, I rarely use a monitor with my gimbal simply because of the weight. I don't like heavy setups. Even though I'm a big guy, I don't want to be carrying a heavy setup for 6-7 hours straight. So I just focus mainly on the viewfinder of my camera. When would you want to use a monitor? Well, if it's preference, guys. It really is preference. For me, I want to stay away from using a monitor. I never had an issue using my LCD screen on my camera. Some of you want something larger. That's fine. On my dual handle setup, though, there were some times where I did prefer having a monitor, and that's because of how bright it was outside. If brightness is an issue and your camera doesn't have that capability of increasing that brightness on your screen, then yes, definitely use a monitor with a sun hood. I do recommend that. But for the most part, I would say about 90% of the time, I don't use a monitor with my gimbal. I just want to keep it lightweight. And you won't see cables dangling around. So I keep it lightweight. What's the best way to attach a mic when using a gimbal? Well, if you're like me, I do recommend that you get a cage. A camera cage just has a whole bunch of ports around here. Let me show you what a camera cage looks like for those of you who don't know. So here is a camera cage. If you notice, it has ports all around the camera. These are quarter 20-inch ports. On some cages, you have 3/8-inch ports. So you can easily mount using a dual ball head or a hot shoe mount. As you can see here, there's an extra hot shoe mount. You can mount a mic, and then you put the camera setup on your gimbal. Now, if you don't need any other accessories, like for example, the only reason why I have a cage on my camera is that I usually put on a light and a mic for darker scenes. If you don't want to have more than one accessory on your camera, just use your hot shoe mount and mount the mic on there, and that should be fine. And depending on how strong your gimbal is, it might support the mic, it might not support the mic. And that's why you should definitely pick up one of those smaller shotgun mics from Rode or from Comica. Both are excellent quality, and they will get you the sound that you want. Put this back right here. Okay. All right. Awesome. So I think I answered that question. What's the advantage of Premiere Pro versus Final Cut? What do you prefer and why? Well, I prefer, the advantage of Premiere Pro is color correction. There's better color correction options with Premiere Pro. That's about it. When it comes down to speed, ergonomics, Final Cut Pro is way better. And they're updating it every couple months and making, in each update, they make the color correction system better. So eventually, color correction will be better on Final Cut Pro, or at least matches with Premiere. So that's why I use it. It's fun to use. It's user-friendly. Like, it looks like it's made for a consumer, but it's prosumer or professional, actually. So it looks very, very welcoming to edit in Final Cut Pro. Premiere Pro is a little bit more intimidating. Text is a lot smaller. Like, the menu items are so small and tiny. It's difficult to adjust. But everything in Final Cut Pro is just right in front of your face. It's, you know, the print is good, and it just looks very user-friendly. So I feel like with Final Cut Pro, anybody can learn it. With Premiere Pro, you're going to have to probably get some tutorials that will help you use it. Ray P says, hi Josh, I'm replacing my Tamron 17 to 50 2.8. Would you recommend the Canon 17 to 55 or the 16 to 35 2.8? I use the Canon 80D along with the June Crane 2. So you're using the 80D. I would recommend getting the Canon for sure. Simply because of the focal length. You're getting a slightly larger focal length there, and you're also keeping a 2.8 aperture. The 16 to 35 is only 1 millimeter wider, but it doesn't have that focal length right out of the 17 to 55. 1 millimeter, very slight difference in distance from the sensor. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Believe it or not, I do see a pretty big difference between 2 millimeters. So if you're comparing two lenses that are 2 millimeters apart, you will definitely see a difference. For example, on my 14 millimeter lens and my 16 millimeter lens, I've tested this out. I'm going to do a video on it eventually. There is a massive difference in 2 millimeters. 1 millimeter, there is a difference, but it's not that noticeable. So honestly, for the focal length, for the focal range, I would go with the 17 to 55 2.8. That's great glass. I used to be a Canon shooter all the way. I had all Canon stuff. And yeah, I was never unhappy with Canon glass, even their cheaper lenses that only cost like $200 or $300. One of my favorite cheaper lenses for Canon was the 28 to 135, 3.5 to 5.6 aperture lens. That thing was insanely sharp. And all around, it was a great, like, you can bring me along for any trip kind of lens. Joe is asking, any news on the Crane app updates, motion control, time lapse? Yes, they will be updating things, guys. Right now, Tech they're producing 3 new gimbals that are going to be launched in around fall. I would say about end of September, around October time. That's all I can say right now regarding those gimbals. But right now, for the app updates, they are working on it. They did not give me any sort of release date for the app updates, but it's happening. Is the Flycam Red King gimbal any good? Yes, I actually did I didn't try out the Flycam. I tried out the Flowcam, and I think that's what you mean, because that's what it is. I think that's what the Red King is. I think it's a Flowcam. It's a great gimbal or a stabilizer. There were some quality control issues, like the head plate would get a little bit loose and the screws were plastic. But if that doesn't bother you, I mean, for the price of like $130, I think it is, I think it's the best stabilizer on the market for the money. But yeah, Great P says thanks for that. Awesome, guys. Yeah. Any more questions, my friends? Any more questions? Let me know. So yeah, tomorrow morning, new Ronin S tutorial. It's going to be a good one because I'm featuring Armando Ferreira from Mondo Bytes. He's going to be in it. He's going to be my model for this shoot. So it was really fun collaborating with him. We also did some test footage with the Inspire 2. I have the Inspire 2 as a loaner, as I mentioned earlier in the stream. So it's a great, great drone. I mean, I loved my Inspire 1 until I sold it. And the Inspire 2 is just an improvement on that. With the X7 camera, though, it's very sluggish. It's so sluggish because the camera is heavy along with the lens. So flying it is not as fun as with the X3 camera. I mean, the X7 is just a big, bulky hunk of metal. So it's not that much fun to fly. But I do love the FPV camera in the Inspire 2. I think that's pretty awesome. But I do prefer having a lighter camera on the Inspire because it's just so much more fun to fly. But that's just because I love drones. If you're a cinematographer and you don't really care about how well the drone flies, you know, quality is a pretty big deal. So Super 35 sensor, I think it's a Sony sensor too, and DJI glass. Yeah, you're looking at a pretty good setup here. Jim Blind says, shooting a food video in the Crane 2, any suggestions? Slow motion. Set your camera to slow-mo, 120 or 60. And I love, like, let's say you're shooting a pizzeria. Have the guy throw the dough up in the air. Have him, like, put flour on his hands or do something cool in slow motion that will make the flour pop or the pizza dough pop. When they sprinkle on the cheese, when they put on the tomato sauce or the pepperoni, have them drop it onto the pizza and get that slow motion, that crispiness. If you're filming a bakery, try to get a time lapse of the bread baking. Try to do that. Like, get the details. I want to see the cracks in the sourdough bread. Like, get the details of the food, and that's what's going to sell. Lighting is also important. Bring some lights. Make sure that the food is lit well. No ugly shadows or anything like that. But the main part with food, and I'm a food addict. I want to eat nonstop every day. I love looking at the detail of bread, pie. Like, I really observe food. It's kind of weird, but that's what I do. I observe food and I eat it, and then it's like, ah. So if you can capture that feeling, if you can make somebody hungry with your video, then you're making a good freaking food video. So your objective is to make the viewer hungry. So I hope that helps. Do you use DaVinci Resolve for color grading? I don't. I use Final Cut Pro and I use Colorista for color grading. Madness Manuel, hey from Switzerland. Is making videos your full-time job? It is. It is. I actually have 2 full-time jobs. I do social media for a company called Hurlbutt Visuals. I do content for them as well, and I do my YouTube channel. And I have client work as well. So yes, video is my full-time job. What's your go-to lens when it comes to filmmaking? Oh, man, my favorite lens. I'll show you right now. The most used lens I have is this puppy right here. And that is the Zeiss 16-35 f4. Mwah! Love that lens. It's wide and it gets down to a medium focal length, like 35 mil. It's pretty good. And I specifically use it all the time because it's great on gimbals. I also love my G Master 70-200 lens. I think that's probably the best telephoto lens I've ever used, and it's so sharp, and oh man, love the quality in that thing. Many thanks on the food video. Thank you so much for your comment, Jim. Awesome, I'm glad I helped out there. All right, guys, so well, I'm gonna get started with tomorrow's video. I need to shoot the A-roll for that, so make sure you're subscribed with those notifications turned on. You're not gonna wanna miss this Ronin S tutorial. All right, guys, I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next live stream. Peace. Or in the next video. I'll see you in the next video, regardless of it being a live stream or not. All right, guys, take care. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow.